Today's meeting is being streamed live on the Township of Ramara YouTube channel. Be advised that by attending a public meeting of the Commission, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded and will form a part of the public record. The Chair, CAO, or Secretary have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming in exceptional circumstances where the content of the debate is considered inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in unacceptable behavior or comments.
Hello, it's Jake Thompson here. Okay, yeah, I could hear that. Can you hear us now, Jake? Yes, I can. Okay, perfect. So Jake Thompson, Tatham Engineering here. Jake, if you don't mind just speaking a little bit about the plan as to how we're going to move forward with the VFDs on the water mover number 1, and then we'll field some questions toward after your talk on the report there. Yep. So we reviewed the noise report a bit more in depth, and found that the pumps that are existing at both water movers are capable of receiving a VFD. Essentially, it's a variable frequency drive. It allows the motor to turn down, meaning that it won't generate as much noise, which was the concern of these pumps. And so by adding this electrical device into the system, you'll be able to reduce the noise of the pumps. Another test of the subsequent noise at different speeds of the pump would need to be carried out to understand when the pump is in compliance. Currently, it's just one of them that's having the issue, based on the report that we received back. The facilities exist to allow the acceptance of that VFD into the system.
So, like the question on that, then both of them are loud. So putting this on, what would that reduce the noise by? Like half, a quarter?
Noise, it's not like a linear scale. It follows a logarithmic. So to speculate how far in a reduction it would require to meet the noise limits would be a bit of speculation at this point in time. But it's not far off from what the requirements are. So I wouldn't suspect that it would take too much of a reduction in the speed of the pump in order to meet the noise requirements.
Well, I'm just going to follow up on that question. Yeah. But I'm just trying to figure out, because they are pretty loud. And I guess what the issue I've always had with it, the previous pumps that we had in there made no noise basically at all. And then when we put these new pumps in, they now make a lot of noise. And I do know that for a fact, because I know 10 years ago when I was first involved in these pumps, when my wife and I went up to see, because I was being told the pumps turn off all the time, we couldn't even tell if the pumps were on. Finally, I had to go to the electrical panel and feel the power coming out, and then follow the water, and then look 50 feet further down. I could see the weeds bent right over, and that's when I could tell the water was really pumping. So I've never understood why these pumps are so loud if they're the same pumps as what we've had. And this is something I guess I've been questioning all along. So I just don't understand, because if you don't reduce that noise, and I'll call it noise, there's probably all different ways you can call it, by at least half, it's not going to be acceptable. It's still going to be too loud. Mayor?
The other ones didn't have any infrastructure above the water though, did they? Like, that's why you couldn't find them. They were just under the water.
No, they're identical. The pumps are identical.
Same framework.
Same framework, same everything.
All right.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
No.
Yeah. I remember we were there because we didn't realize they were turning the pumps off at night. There was a timer on it. And that's what everybody was talking about, because the power from those pumps, they're pigs on power. Like you look at the cost it used to cost us to run those things. And that's why at night they were turning them off, which was kind of silly because that's when the power is cheaper. You want to run them. Deputy Mayor.
I'm just a little confused with the VFD. It doesn't sound like it's a quieter motor. It just sounds like you're slowing down the speed of it, which is just going to create less vibration. So I'm not catching, what is the performance going to be like? Obviously, it's not going to do as good a job. It's not moving as much water.
Correct. So it does slow it down, reduces the volume of water that's being moved around in the lagoon. And it's the solution to reduce the noise of that system in a way that is the most practical. There's ways to look at putting vibration isolators into that system because it's submerged. It's challenging to put those in, except if you locate them above the floats, which was sort of that the second part of the recommendation there. But it would require much more extensive changes to the frame in order to facilitate the installment of those.
Yep, just follow up through the chair to Josh. Just a quick question then. Have you exhausted all, like there's hydraulic pumps, there's brushless pumps, all of those are better options because they create less vibration. There's none of those options for this application?
The pump could be replaced as well too. That would be, I would think, a higher cost option. When we were told about the changing of the pumps earlier, it was as a like for like. So you're going to get a similar level of performance with the same type of pump that you would replace it with, unless you're going to try and get a type of pump and motor that's attached with it that's either the exact equivalent to what was initially on that system, or something that is substantially better. There could be issues with that pump that's in there right now where there's just the alignment of that pump. But it's, from what I understand, like a pump that doesn't have a shaft that's moving, like a split coupled pump, where you've got vibration that can impart from the motor into the pump just because of the alignment being off.
Yeah, I just find I have a hard time spending more of the user's money on something like this. It's just a Band-Aid. It's going to create probably more issues with the performance being less, and it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So I don't know if this is necessarily the right option. I wish we had some other options, but what the cost would be to replace those pumps with appropriate ones that would bring that noise level down myself.
Commissioner Schussman?
Yeah, is this some sort of like a mechanical resonance phenomenon happening in that regard, or can you change the speed of the motor to mitigate the vibration?
So, reducing the motor frequency or how fast that motor spins reduces the sound of the system. So you're rotating it at a slower speed. In that report, we do discuss that it's just the one pump that has a tonal frequency, meaning that one part of the noise profile is substantially louder than the sound frequencies that are preceding and preceding it. So it sticks out a bit more clearly to your ear, and that's why the one pump is not in compliance, because it takes a penalty as a result of that, where the other one is in compliance with the noise standards, although still not within the noise levels that I guess are being expected by some users surrounding the environment.
So would increasing output help at all? I mean, you're talking about reducing the output.
So we wouldn't be increasing, because you would increase the amount of noise that would be generated with that.
So there is a linear relationship then.
It's it would probably be something that, so sound is logarithmic, so it's sort of to the power of 10. When you start to increase like flow from a motor, it's like a cubic relationship. So I would not say that it's a linear relationship. As you increase the speed of that motor, you're likely increasing the speed of the noise that's generated more than a one-to-one.
Mayor?
Yeah, well, yeah, if it's a harmonic problem, then changing it can eliminate a lot of the noise because it's just vibrating at a certain frequency and then everything echoes that. So if you do slow it down a bit, you could see a drastic drop, could you not?
You could. It's a system that you're installing after the noise assessment's already been conducted. So what we would suggest is the VFD is installed. It's got, say, speeds from, like 0 to 60. You test it at, 55, 50, 45 to see where you're going to fall in compliance. And the speed of the pump would be reduced as a result of whatever frequency is selected that's in compliance.
So I guess I want to just ask the infrastructure lady, with the pumps that are used in the tanks, like I guess the holding tanks or whatever this is, tanks, aren't these the same type of pumps that we have?
To be honest, I haven't seen this installation myself, so I'd have to go back and review it, but I think Chris knows the answer to this.
Sorry,
so.
Right. They're a comparable pump that would be used in a wastewater treatment facility as well.
And yet we don't hear that noise there, do we?
Those pumps are encased in their own housing and stuff at the wastewater plant that you wouldn't hear that externally anyways from the building. So
you wouldn't hear it because I guess what kind of bothers me is the fact that the old pumps didn't make a noise. And I do know the old pumps were worth a lot more money. And that was like 10, 20 years ago compared to what we just bought. Those pumps we bought were awful cheap. When I got them, I was shocked at the price on them.
I wonder if that's a situation where the original would have been a complete construction of the entire assembly. And this was just a pump replacement on an existing assembly versus a complete rebuild of the existing, right?
But we actually still have those pumps that we had, do we not? Aren't they still around?
That's a great question. I would imagine they're here somewhere unless there was a residual value on trade-in that would have happened when the reconstruction happened.
Right, because one was broken and one wasn't.
Okay.
And that's what I've always wondered why we didn't put that one of those ones back in again.
Yeah. I can't answer that.
But so the cost to do this, what he's talking about, am I reading correctly? It's $30,000.
That's
so.
Right.
What was the price of the pumps? Huh? Yeah. Exactly. So should we be looking at it? Oh,
I was going to say, so if you would like, we can defer the decision today and we can go back and take a look at what were the costs of the original pumps and determine what we have in stock still, whether we have that old pump removed, and we can do a quick pump comparison to see what the differences were before you make a decision and bring it back to the next meeting if you choose.
Because there were two pumps that were taken out, and one I know was broken and one wasn't. And then we just thought, well, we'll replace them, and then when we found out the pricing, it was so reasonable. No wonder, right?
So if it would if we have them, I'd like to assess them because even the broken one might be able to rebuild it. We might be better to rebuild what we had and put it back in. I mean, welcome to the world now. You buy a fridge, some of them are quiet, some vibrate out of the house, right?
So yeah, I think before we move on this, because we've been beating this up so much, like we've been involved with this now for what, 3 years? Yeah, like let's do this once and for all and get it done properly, right? Because this would be just a Band-Aid. We're guessing on this one.
You're going to lose performance.
Okay. So the motion I would put forward would be what?
Defer for information from staff regarding the old pumps.
Correct. And just hearing what you had said there, Mr. Chair, I would recommend you give us a couple of months to really dig into that. It would be a really high level review if we were going to bring it back to the next meeting. So maybe it would be better off to be at least a couple of months. We'll do a comparison, see what we have, and we'll have a discussion. We may engage Tatham to assist in some of that review with us, and we'll get a report back. So I would defer it for at least a couple of meetings for us, please.
So what would you like us to do? Defer it till October or?
September or October would be fantastic.
Okay, so we'll defer it to October then? All right. Because what's going to happen is we're going to be pushing it again until next year. Yeah, just before Thanksgiving.
So through you, Mr. Chair, what I would look for is a motion to postpone until the September meeting. So you just need a mover. It's a verbal motion to postpone the matter. So you just need a mover and seconder and a vote on that postponement.
Okay, so I would get the deputy mayor, second by the Commissioner Shoesmith. You want to do it for September then? Are you okay with September? Okay, then we'll do it for September then, because we've been putting this off like this almost every year now. And now this is not going to happen till, but it'd be nice if we could get a look at it. If you could get it tested, if you find it and throw it in the water and see what happens. And away we go. And maybe even get, sorry, CL.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm just hearing from staff that September might be a wee bit tight due to some vacation schedules and so on. So if you're okay, could we actually look to the October meeting for this matter to come back?
I don't think it matters much because it's going into the new year, okay. Or it's going to next year. So September, October, it doesn't matter.
As long as we can add it to the budget, because we still want it in the budget for next year.
Well, we're going to be doing this investigation, so we're going to have to leave some money in there, right? And I believe there's 30,000 in there, right, for this? Yeah. Well, I thought it was 30. I think it was just doing the test. Is it 60? Yeah. But if you're testing it and you're looking at it, you could probably put it in the water even now to try it, right? Do a test on it or something, right?
We need to look at the electrical and make sure we can connect it and all of those pieces. So, but we would be able to do that this year. I would think so, if we can make all the other arrangements.
I just think, I remember Josh once said that it was in pieces, so it might not be feasible, but at least we'll look into it and see. And maybe we can get an idea of what that pump actually was and try to replicate that and we'll purchase that pump. But I was always told these pumps were the same. I guess you were told that too, right, Chris?
That was my understanding as well. They were exchanged, same for same, right across the board, same pump, same ratings, same electrical ratings, same everything.
Same everything, yeah. Okay. So I've got that on the floor. I guess we're going to end it now. All in favor? That's passed. So I'd like to thank Jake from Tatum for coming and giving us that information. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And anything more I can add, just let us know.
Hey, thank you very much.
Take care.
Oh, sorry, the mayor has a question.
No, actually, it's for staff, actually. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
I was just going to say, is there an opportunity if the one pump is still functioning and tests out okay, that an exchange could be done as a trial prior to us coming back? Or even at the time you're removing the one pump, drop the old one in and see what it does?
Through you, Mr. Chair, absolutely. The other option is that I do know some pump companies that have test pits. So they have all the connections and water tanks that they'll be able to just throw it in and test it in their shop. It won't be in our exact application, but at least we'd have a high level ability to understand if it's working or not working.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so we're done that. Now we're going to go into number 7. And the draft budget, let's see, the 2026 draft LCP budget for consideration, the recommendation. Oh, sorry.
We just have a slight change to the motion, if that's all right. I can read the revised motion if that is okay.
Okay, so is there any other revised ones or is that the only one now?
We've made a few revisions just for clarity to the motions that were on the agenda. So it's not a substantive change in many cases. It's just adding a couple of words or sentence for.
Okay, so before I start, when I'll look over at you, if you're not to me,
Yes,
then
I
I'm
can-
okay. If not,
yeah.
then. we're
And
gonna
we do
put it
have
up.
them up as
Okay,
well.
no
We've
problem.
increased the font size so we can make it bigger too if needed.
Oh, that's way better.
Okay, so that the draft 2026 budget for the Lagoon City Parks and Waterways Commission be submitted as part of the Township of Ramara's 2026 budget process.
Okay, so we'll put that on the floor. That'll be deputy mayor, second by the mayor. Let's discuss it then. So let me see, that's. Everybody got their thing in front of them? So to make this easier, right, I'm just gonna go through blocks, and each block, if you've got something to talk about, then talk about it, and then we'll keep moving through, because I've got a couple things in some of the blocks, and I think it just make it easier, and we can go through this quicker. And because I don't want to do item by item, like we've already read it all, we understand it all. So the first block, does anybody have anything to talk about? That starts with the LCPW miscellaneous revenue. Is there any discussion on that? The only thing, I know somebody asked me once recoverable shore wall, what that was, why that was in there. That was in there back when there was an inspection done, and then the money was paid, and then we got it back from the residents and that. So that's something that's like 10 years old. So that's why it's blank all the way through. We'll go to the next. I'm going to use the small and the full box. We're going to talk about that. Who would like to start off talking about that? Oh, Mayor.
All right, the insurance, so we're guessing at a 24,000 under the new pool. Is there a savings there, or is that what we're estimating? I mean, it's early to tell, but I know our contract was savings. Oh, that's right.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I just did an estimate and included a cost inflation, not understanding what those cost savings might be with those insurance pools. As we go through the budget process, if there is cost savings, we'll make sure that they apply to this.
Deputy Mayor.
Just curious, the proposed budget for staff, the wages and expenses gone up by 27,000. What is the reason? Like, I know it's kind of all over the place. It goes 175, 148, 158, 184, and then back down to 173, now back to 200. Just curious what that is.
For sure. Through you, Mr. Chair. Did you want to answer that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, and perhaps maybe I'll just start, and then if the GM has anything further to add. We are in the process of fully evaluating the cost of the staff in order to provide the service for the overall commission and the commission's work. And so we have some preliminary estimates, but we are just going through the process to fine tune that, at which point we will report back to the commission the outcome of that evaluation. So certainly if the GM has anything further to add.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
So to follow up on that, like what I've looked at is in 2023 it was 148, now it's 200. So it's gone up 50,000 the last couple of years. And now it's coming up to almost 25% of our whole budget now is this cost. And this is where we're probably gonna have to take a good hard look at this, because this is a lot of money we can spend on this. And I there is questions, I think, when I was involved with that lawyer when he came, and we were questioning some of this, and I think it's tied into some other things. And I will talk about that, I guess, when I get further down there about the costs and like where these are being spent, right? Like, so anyways, do you have anything else, sir, Mayor? Or Deputy Mayor? I was just following up on that.
No, that's all I had. I wasn't done with that. I'm worried about the 3%. So I wanted to start looking at those costs.
Yeah. Okay. The Mayor.
The bottom line, other city parks and waterways, 235.
Bottom box being.
Well, sorry, one box. Yeah,
13,000, right? Yeah. Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair. The budget in 2025, that was to encompass $10,000 for beautification and $3,500 for a beach party. And I don't believe they're expected to be at that level.
So if I may follow up, is it in a, was it used, is it in a reserve? No, this is just operating capital. So it would have been
Correct, yes.
used elsewhere.
No,
All right.
we have not allocated those funds. It would go back to the reserve as unspent and come back out for
Oh,
next year's
okay,
budget.
so all right.
Okay, so the question I have is, we'll start with the beach security. Why is it $10,000 when it was costing 19,000 before?
Through you, Mr. Chair, as you might remember, we did go out for procurement this year, and the cost for the services received from the new contractor are much less expensive than in the past. So the $10,000 is accurately reflecting the existing contract and procurement we have.
And what is the input now on this new beach security that we've had, like with the people that are doing it? Because I know we had issues at the beginning because we weren't even sure if they were there.
Correct, and I know that, I'll let Ms. Jackson answer.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just so the commission is aware, we've transitioned the management of that contract over to our enforcement division. So Mr. Popple is now responsible for managing the security firm that we've hired to do this work. And Mr. Popple is meeting with the security firm on a regular basis to ensure that the service that they are meant to be providing is being provided, and he is providing, or the security firm is providing him with regular updates. I do believe at the beginning of the contract that there were some challenges that we were observing with respect to the contractor. Those issues have now been resolved, and the communication is regular now with the staff that is managing that contract.
It's excellent. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. I didn't know that. I did notice that they were wearing the proper uniforms. Whenever I went by, I could identify where they were, and they were parking in the correct spot. So I was trying to figure out who was speaking to them, because I know, so you've got, and I think Popple is a good person to do it. Really. Okay, that's a good answer. The other one I've got is the engineering. We already talked about that. The other one I've got is legal fees. So I guess the problem I have with these legal fees, they've all shown up in the last 2 years, this amount. And when before, we were always told those legal fees were not Parks and Waterways issues, and we never paid them. And we've just started to pay them out in the last 2 years. And I remember when we talked to the lawyer that we used to investigate, he questioned whether or not we should be paying for these legal fees. So I'm curious, now that we've got them on here, I'm questioning whether or not we need them. And I'm curious, I guess it's more to you, Gail, that I'll ask, that when we were on Parks and Waterways before, we were told by the previous CAO, and we were also told by the lawyer, that this was a cost that was picked up by the town. Now it's changed, and I'm wondering how this has all changed.
Through you, Mr. Chair, certainly I can go back in time to better understand sort of maybe what was advised in the past. The legal fees, and the commission will recall that you specifically hired a lawyer just recently to provide the commission with advice on your roles and responsibilities. That is specific to commission work, and consequently should be charged to the commission for that service, not the regular taxpayers within the township. So when it is site specific to the commission and the commission's work, then it should be a cost of the commission. But I'm more than happy to go back to determine sort of what the position was in the past, because I do not know that. I just know that moving forward, there has been certainly site-specific legal work that has been required as a result of, as I say, the example that I just gave, where the commission actually hired a lawyer to provide advice to the commission on specific matters.
And which he did mention to me, but I told him that that's not, like he told me about that, but that's not what he was supposed to be doing at this time, and that it would be something I would get back to later. And now I'm just getting back to it now, because he disagrees with that. And if I remember correctly, the other lawyer had started it too. And I can't remember exactly when it happened, but I do know I've had a number of Parks and Waterways people that were involved and have come to me and said, Cal, this is what was said to us back then. Why is this changing? So that's why I'm questioning, because now we've got close to $40,000 there now. Mayor?
If I may, I think you're talking two different issues. It's a court case is one issue, and we can have a discussion on that one day, I guess.
No, I'm not talking the court.
But this, no, like, it's the same when you bring Tatum here. When Tatum, just this morning, Tatum was here, that will be paid for by Parks and Waterways, right? That's not covered by the general taxpayer. When you bring the engineers, it's the same if you invite the lawyer here. You have to pay the time that they're in the meeting or any.
See, I don't
commission
want
to
to be honest with you, Mayor, I don't want to debate this because I'm not an expert and I'm not a legal. And I was trying to find out really just why it changed, because this is what the legal, I guess the legal whatever was told to us by the other lawyer. And this is how we ran it. And I know the previous CEO had told me that, no, this isn't something you pay. It's a general taxpayers. So when we met with the lawyer on these other issues, he agreed with all of this. So that's why I'm questioning it. So if we need to, I wouldn't mind bringing the lawyer back and having him to investigate this properly and then report back to us. And whatever his report is, I'll accept it one way or the other. But at least I'd like to get the legal advice. I'm not an expert, and I don't think the mayor is. I don't think you are, Gail, or maybe you are. I don't know your background, but I would like the lawyer to look into this.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Chair, if the commission wishes to seek that legal opinion, the commission certainly can pursue that. And certainly the outcome of that would be reviewed by the Township Council to determine sort of the next steps. But at this point in time, the position is if the commission is looking for legal advice on specific matters, then at this point it is identified as a commission expense.
So if we go to this lawyer to speak to him, so then we speak to the lawyer because he's advising us then, right?
It's the commission who would be seeking that advice from the solicitor. So you had indicated that you had already had this conversation with the lawyer. Did that lawyer put it in writing that, in fact, this particular expense should not be that of the commission?
So should I go and speak to the lawyer then to get this all done in writing, or should I make a motion to be allowed to do that, or what should we do next?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if you are it would be my advice that you pass a motion in order to enable that legal opinion, because there will be a cost to that.
Absolutely. But I think it is a cost where we can finally put this to bed once and for all, right?
Which lawyer? You heard, or the other one?
I would use the other one because he's the one that did the whole report. He looked at all of this and reported. I believe John had already said that we don't pay it. I think that's where it all came from. So I don't know what's gone on in that part of it, right? And I'm not sure what you're referencing, like who you're speaking to, right? So I have no problems. I can't remember the name of the lawyer we used. His first name's Eric, and that's what would I have to put a motion forward to do that then?
It would be my advice, Mr. Chair, that yes, in fact, that you do bring forward a motion to enable that work to be done.
Right, because I think it would be good for the Parks and Waterways to have their own lawyer. I don't think we should share the same lawyer, do I? I just in case of things like this, it's better, you know what I mean? Because all of a sudden we had to go look for another lawyer who we thought John was our lawyer when all this happened. So it was kind of tricky to do all that. Right. So the motion forward then, so what, can I have somebody from the commission with me involved in this to bring it forward? So it's not just me doing it, or?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, you are able certainly to invite another member of the commission to participate in the conversation with the lawyer. It would be my advice as well that that lawyer consult with the administration of the township to make sure that that lawyer understands both sides of the issue. So absolutely, if that is your desire and in fact would be recommended, so that you would have that resource, additional individual to participate in that conversation. You'll want to make sure that your scope is clearly identified to the lawyer so that it's understood what the expectation is in terms of the advice that you're seeking.
Okay, so it would be yourself and one other because you can't have a quorum.
Exactly. But I just want somebody else involved in it now that I'm not the one doing it. And yeah, I would love to actually, when we meet with them, to even come in and talk to the town, talk to yourself or talk to whoever you would want to talk about it. So it's all above board and we can deal with this once and for all, and we're all on the same page, right? That's what I really want to end, because I'm tired of this talking here, talking there. I just want to get this over with. Okay, so the motion that we're going to put forward then is
commissioner of your choice. Is everybody fine with that? Or do you want to assign one today?
No, I agree with you, Mayor, but I would suggest one of the commissioners as opposed to one of us because we kind of hold two hats. So why not take a commissioner?
So what I'll do then, I'll let Tom do it because he's the one that's going to last longer than all of us now. Like he's got, because he's going to last after the election. So he'll still be here.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I can, just in terms of process, you have a motion on the floor right now, which you're in the middle of dealing with based on the discussion about your budget. So when we have concluded that and you've called the question on the motion that you currently have on the floor, then we can bring forward an additional motion that would enable you to consider the commissioning of a lawyer to provide you with that advice. So
perfect. So what we'll do is all these motions that we get, if we get any more, we'll just save them then and we'll do them at the end.
that would be great, Mr. Chair.
And I have no problems leaving the 20,000 there because we've always left it there because that was our backup just in case. That was always the reserve we had for meetings. And the other thing was the engineering report, which was talked about. Okay, I'm done there. Does anybody else have anything in that block? Okay, the next one, we'll do the 2 blocks at the bottom. Mayor, you got anything?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just thought of it. So we did take a big drop in our cost of security, which is great. But are we sure, is that a 2-year contract or is that just a 1 year? And are we guaranteed that price next year? Or is this just assuming and holding the price?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe it was a 3-year contract and that price was held for that 3 years.
Perfect. Thank you.
It was 2 or 3. Yeah. Did you have anything? No? Great. The only thing I've got here is the hydro on the first one. That's $25,000, and we just sort of copied before. And since then, if I remember correctly, we've put in 2 new pumps since then. So I would have to imagine that's going to go up in price a bit.
There has been an increase of 1 pump at there. There will be an increase of the 1 pump at the one shed, and there was a subsequent pump installed last year as well. So.
Right. So it's going to be 2 pumps then that have been added to what? We have 5 pumps. So we're going to add a certain percentage to it. So would it be another couple $1,000s more, or do you think the 25 is still safe?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it is always hard to guess that based on what actually happens in the season. I would suggest that we leave this placeholder here, and then as we go forward into next year's budget, we can adjust. I'd rather not overcommit a bunch of funds and then have it really underspent. There'll probably be some cost savings in other areas that we can balance that out. I would encourage we just leave it here. Once we've run that full season with one of the new pumps on, we'll be better able to gauge that going forward.
Okay, so we could probably take a look at it when we do this in September, October, when we leave this open, just to double check, right?
Sure.
I have a feeling it's going to go up. But
okay.
Yeah. The other thing is the duckweed. I noticed there's nothing there this time.
Wasn't the harvesters out gathering it up?
They call the duckweed, I think it's the boom is what they mean when they say duckweed. I think it's to stop the duckweed from coming in the river in by keggers. I think that's what that means. And it's the boom, and we need to make sure we keep buying the boom, right, Chris?
Yeah, so that hadn't been in the budget since 2024. It was removed in 25 so that it didn't exist. But yes, the booms would have been what would have controlled the duckweed before. They are now under supplies, signs and buoys, etc. is where we access the funds if we have to replace those buoys at all.
Okay, so we can take duckweed right out of there now.
It's out of there now, I believe, isn't it? There's no funds attached to it.
No, but I get rid of the whole thing then. Yeah, got it.
Through you, sorry. So this spreadsheet comes from our general ledger structure. So even if we're not using that account to currently have funds in it, it will still keep showing up on our list. So we'll try and make sure that going forward, if we have no budget in something, we'll remove it before it comes to the commission, but we can't just delete it because it's part of our chart of accounts. We need to show that history of charges in the past were there. So that it just is the accounting piece.
So if you add some, if you
5 years, because there'll be 0 on the line and it just won't be there anymore.
So then if you add something, you can just change the name. Well, I guess you can. Okay, I understand. I'll just let that go. And the last thing I had were the supplies here, the contracted services. Why have we dropped that? Has something changed on that? It's 140 and our actual in 2024 was 167. And in the 2025 budget, we had 160. Now we're 140.
We're in 2026, the contracts come back up for renewal, and we're hoping to do a little streamlining in two of those contracts and bring two into one. So we might be able to achieve some savings there in that regard for contracted services.
So
in regards to the maintenance of that. Pardon me?
You're pretty well guaranteed that.
Well, that's the anticipation. That's the anticipation that we have moving forward, is that we're going to have receive some cost savings there as well. So.
Okay, I have nothing against cost savings. Definitely.
Just follow up to what you're talking about, Cal. So, Chris, is that contract service? That's obviously the haulage and disposal of the weeds, and that's what you're talking about, is combining them as one contract. If we put that back up,
so it also contains the grass cutting and the maintenance contract of the LCPW properties, all in contracted services.
Okay, I thought that was under groundskeeping or something somewhere else.
Okay. Okay, so we're done that page. Next page. We'll start with the first block, including the top two. There.
Chris might just answered it. Park amenities has, went from 15,000 to 5 to 0. Is that in that other contract now? Is what's happened?
So park amenities is where beautification was always served before in the past, and beautification has been moved into other LCPW at this point in time.
I've got nothing other, just a question to you, Chris. There's no major maintenance that you see on the equipment other than what I see there.
Yeah, I think the most significant maintenance on the equipment is going to be on the 08 harvester in the off season this year. We have to do some reconstruction and some rebuilding on the cutting deck there. We've got some deterioration of some of the metal there that we need to identify. So I think that's going to be our biggest repair moving forward, and a little bit of work into the pontoon boat. You'll see a slight increase there. We need to do a little bit of work in the motor and control side of things. So
yeah, you really tighten this up. Yeah, this is good.
Definitely. I'm just going to go back. Sorry, Chris. I just did notice. I thought I noticed it. The next column down is ground maintenance. So is that contracted services? That's the lawn and park amenities, right? It's separate from the weed contracted services. I just want to make sure we're not combining the two.
You're correct. I do see that.
Okay.
There.
I just wanted to make sure, because we were talking about the drop in that cost for the weed contracted service. I just wanted to make sure we were clear.
I'll have to do a quick review in my notes and determine why there was the drop there.
Okay, thank you.
So when you do these notes, would this change any, like, if something might change, like? Yeah. That's why we can't.
I think that's
okay. This way. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's good. No, I'd rather you do what you're doing. You're doing a good job that way. I think it's good. So does anybody else have anything else there? No. The next thing, I'll do the next two blocks right in the middle. The only thing I've got is the reserves. We're comfortable with the numbers I see there.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, I don't look to my right.
That's okay. The transfer to reserves, is that the one you're questioning?
Yeah.
Sorry? So, and that is, again, we'll have to figure out where this all shakes out and what it looks like at the end, whether we've got a surplus or a deficit, and transfer to the reserves. At this point, with a couple of the question marks and placeholders that we have, it does look like it would be a transfer to the reserve of about $150,000 this year for 2026. Sorry. So this will be, that number is usually finished, filled in last, unless there was an intentional amount that you wanted to add to the reserves, of which case then the levy would need to increase to adjust for it.
And what's our reserves right now?
That's a very good question for our director of finance that I'm not sure about. So I can, if you give me a few minutes, I'll look to see.
You would know that, but yeah.
I can look it up and see what I can find.
If you wouldn't mind, just give me a rough number. Yeah, that's good. Does anybody else have anything there? No. Okay, we'll go to the bottom one. And we talked about, actually, probably what we all have there, we've already talked about. The big question I have then, and I'll ask the question before we get to you guys, is the very bottom one. What is that?
So the North Beach drainage improvements we're discussing? Is that the item you're talking about there, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you'll recall, over the last few years, we've had many instances where the North Beach has ponded a lot of water in multiple locations between the condos and the beach. And the entire grounds there needs to have a regrading plan set to it. There are many low spots in that beach area, both sides of the access road in there, and to fix the problem entirely with the ponding that goes on in multiple areas, the entire area needs to have a grading plan, and there's some material that needs to be brought in and graded and sloped and have some drainage installed there. To move one load of topsoil into a low area, a wet area, all you're going to do is move that wet area to the next low area, to the next low area. You just keep chasing that water from spot to spot to spot, where the whole beach, if you look at the whole entire beach, there's low spots throughout the entire beach area that needs to be identified from the beach to the condo corps properties.
I'd just like to add, there's sort of an accidental berm that occurred some years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago, when they dredged, through the jetty and then in the main canal. They dumped a lot of that sand on the North Beach. And the contour, as it was graded originally, there's some V channels that run along the side of the complex and then westerly. But with this dumping of sand, they created a berm and a dam, basically, and you get this buildup. And so the whole North Beach Park area is actually a bowl. So if that could just be regraded, that massive amount of area, that berm that runs completely along the beach, it's all sand. If that could be brought back down to level, like it came from the jetty area, that would certainly help. And putting some fill in the bowl area, because the building itself is on a higher level.
I'm not necessarily thinking that sand is the appropriate material to put in there.
No, but the sand is already there. If that could be graded down, it's creating a berm and it's stopping drainage.
Right. Drainage on that property, actually, if you look at the natural lie of that land, even with that berm that has, however it arrived there years ago, whether it washed up from the lake or in through the jetties, however it arrived years ago, if you look at the natural course of that land, I think the intention is that the water actually comes towards the service road. There is an existing kind of natural ditch that runs out to the water along the edge of that service road from there. So the intention would be to kind of just enhance that grading in that plan in that direction and get the water to flow back to that natural, in essence, natural ditch that's already there and existing along.
Well, when the building was constructed, they deliberately graded it such that there is a B channel that runs north-south along the complex and then turns and heads west. And you can see it's deliberate. It's not accidental by any means.
Right. And I don't think I ever indicated accidental. There's a natural run. If you look at the end of Paradise Road straight out towards the lake, there's a natural run that follows along the edge of that access roadway that's there at the North Beach. It's actually on the right hand side. You can see the road culvert actually even heads in that direction from there.
Right.
But yeah, that land, even with the removal of that berm, I think the beach is still higher than the land behind it.
That could very well be too.
And I think that the natural slope, if I was out there with the new operations manager as well, and the natural slope looks like it comes into the middle then would focus its way out to the waterway from there.
It is a bowl shape.
That's the proposal here is to put some time and money into that and try and get those wet spots and that grading happening in the right direction.
Right. So basically with fill.
With fill and grading and
right.
some ditching and everything else in there.
Right.
Yes.
I think it's a great idea because it's a haven for mosquitoes, and we do put a lot of effort and money into mosquito control,
right?
And we're breeding them.
Yeah, it would be a fairly significant undertaking at the property, right. But I if you wish, we can certainly move forward with that if the commission.
So we're talking about isn't this a natural thing that happens with the lake because it pushes the water and pushes the ice up, and this is natural because it is by the swamp, and what it's now doing is pushing up to swamp it out and everything, right? So are you allowed to, because I was always told you weren't allowed to fool around with that stuff.
Well, we would definitely have to consult with the LSRCA in this regard before we even took any steps moving forward. There would be some LSRCA consultation to find out what we're allowed to do and not allowed to do in that area for sure.
Right. And this area that you're talking about, it's not on the beach then, it's up
in the park
road.
Yeah. That's correct. It's from where the berm, in essence, that Commissioner Shootsmith is talking about to the property line of the condos. It's the area on both sides there.
So on the road, is the water from the road going into that, or is it going the other way?
So there's some culverts from the north side condo walkways in that flow in that direction as well.
Yeah, because if it's going that way, that means the road's draining into it too. It's not draining backwards.
So the natural course of that land from the bridge anyways on Paradise,
right,
slopes towards the water ultimately anyways in any direction from the bridge at Paradise.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go down and take a look at it to get a feel.
I think if you go down there, you'll see exactly what we're talking about, that the natural course of the land all slopes that way anyways.
I don't recall this. When did we talk? I don't remember this at all. This was
come up.
when I looked at it.
Councillor Shoesmith brought this up on multiple occasions, looking for some resolve in there, and this is ultimately as a request of Councillor Shoesmith over the years of identifying it as an issue.
Okay. I asked him about it last time. He didn't know.
Well, just out of the blue, right?
Anyways, okay.
Well, we listen.
Yeah. No, but I spoke to you about it just recently, actually. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I don't look that way. I keep trying to.
Oh, good. No worries.
I don't look to the right.
2 comments for you. The first one is also in regards to this. Our council members may remember the LSRCA had a tree planting program that also had identified this as. And working with staff, they had identified if we tried to put some plantings in here without addressing the drainage concerns, the likelihood of survival of those trees was going to be minimal. So this is kind of the precursor to that if we can do these improvements, the likelihood of getting those trees in place and being successful, which will help for some of the shoreline erosion and all those kinds of controls, that would be where the net benefit would be as well. So this would be work that we would want to do ahead of that planting in order to make sure that that's successful. And then the second thing is that the balance of the reserve at the end of 2024 is about $573,000. And at the end of 2025 is estimated to be $893,000.
Okay, so it's 2020. Next thing I had here was the gondola solution we've already talked about. Oh, the footprint. The tree maintenance that which you just talked about, that was my next follow-up. There were supposed to be trees planted or something.
No, that's some stuff that I've identified at the North Footbridge after our fence project and our repaving project this year. As I've monitored that area, there's some tree trimming that needs to happen. I need to bring in an arborist to be able to open up that canopy a little bit. It's quite shaded and filled in and around there. We need to have an arborist come in and do some trimming and some cleanup in there, and that's the costing to clean up that North Footbridge area.
Okay, so the trees then that we talked about, that we had a deputation or something about all these trees that we were going to plant on the North Beach. What is that happening, or what's happened to that? Because I don't see anything on there, but from my understanding, there's no charge. That's why I probably don't see it.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that's correct. So the LSRCA was providing this as a no-fee program to plant trees. However, some of the other properties we had some challenges with, so we paused the program for 2025. However, I will be bringing a report back to council in the fall regarding the LSRCA program and where do we go forward from here. They've already said that some of the tree plantings that haven't occurred yet could be postponed to spring of 2026, we're continuing our conversations with them. And again, in order for us to plant in this beach location and have it be successful, we need to do those drainage improvements first. So
the last thing I have here is the lights. The $45,000 for 2 lights or 3 lights. Like, that price is not going to get better, is it? Because this lighting goes back to the previous Parks and Waterways where they voted against doing it because it was 33,000 or something back then, and now it's gone up even higher. Like,
we've had 2 quotations in 2025 so far in regards to downward lighting, and the second quotation I think came in just slightly under by only a couple $100 after some revisions. So this is the proposed lighting, downward lighting at the 2-foot bridges. No more lights up high pointing down and shining into anybody's backyards anymore. This is downward lighting on the bridge, the approach right at the bridge and over the bridge. So nothing on the walkways, just the bridge itself.
I don't know. I voted against it 5 years ago. I'm not. I don't. I just can't see it. Like, I just can't see spending that much money on lights. I'm sorry, Commissioner Hart.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Is this initiated due to a complaint or just continue? I'm coming in obviously very cold on this issue. Is this as a result of complaints?
We actually had a deputation and a presentation here from some of the local residents requesting the commission to consider this moving forward, which prompted us to get some pricing in that regard. So it's stemming from a presentation and deputation at one of the other commission meetings.
There.
But these are the original lights that have been there from day one, correct?
That's correct.
The lights are there currently. Recently, they've always been there.
Yeah, they're new lights, actually.
Oh, they've replaced.
Yeah, when I replaced the bridge, they put new lights.
No, that's the lights that were. Oh, maybe prior to the abutment work and stuff that was done prior to my work.
Yeah, they were all new lights were put in. Yeah.
Okay.
What happened was the previous lights, somebody kept cutting the wires all the time 10 years ago. Somebody was cutting the wires all the time, and yeah, and then there was a deputation done on the south bridge, but there's never been a complaint on the north bridge. The complaint on the north bridge was there wasn't enough light, and they wanted the light shining down on the pathways. That was what the complaint was on the north, and that was bought by a commission member. Yeah. Which I can see her point, but you're going to cause the same problem if you start moving lights that way, right? And yeah, it's part of, like, if you walk at night, you bring a flashlight or you use your phone or something. It's just, you know.
Well, this wasn't going to do the pathway, was it? This was just the bridge.
This is just both bridges. Yeah, there was no pathway lighting here.
Because we had no lights for about 2 years on one because they were so badly damaged we couldn't fix them, right? And that's why I know that they were replaced. So, and I think they went to LEDs instead of whatever those bulbs were because they were getting replaced all the time too. So it's to me, it's been going on. I just can't see that much money being spent. Like, you know, we looked at solar, we looked at everything now. So it just seems like a lot of money. And that's for both bridges, and that's the quote you've got?
That's correct. That's combined for both bridges.
Right. So what's it, just one bridge then? Because the north bridge, as long as it's got lights.
Yeah. 20, half of that would be what it is. The lighting is the same. The proposal was the same at both bridges. So that would be 22.5 at each bridge.
22.5.
Yeah. I think there's $500 difference between the bridges because one box, if we do some work there, ESA requires one box to be upgraded. I think there's a few $100 difference, but in essence, it's the same for each bridge.
And you're okay with that price? Like,
I was just doing as requested by the commission to receive quotations on it. I would rather not pass judgment. So,
all right. Well, I don't know. I just I know we talked about it to death 5 years ago, 4 years ago, and it was unanimous. Everybody took it out, and then it's come up again and again, right? And the people did do a deputation, and this is my street too. I know these are my neighbors, right? That did it, but you know, I'm looking at the whole of people, though, everybody in Lagoon City, and I don't know. I'm not sure what this is going to accomplish. What I have noticed, though, is the person has the issue. His trees are about 3 feet away from being up there to cover his window, right? So he's not that far away from not seeing it. Like, I know that's not the way to look at it, but I noticed the cedar hedge is there. But these lights then, what are they going to give us? Then? What are the 22.5? We're going to get downward lighting. Is it going to light up our pathways or no?
So no pathway lighting. It'll be from end to end on the bridge, downward lighting mounted on the sides, facing down onto the walking surface so that the walking surface is illuminated at night. Some of the costing is the extensive rewire that has to happen at the bridges, because all that wire's up top right now, and to bring downward lighting down and mount it onto the side of the bridges where it's just facing onto the walk area, we've got to move all of that wiring from up top to the bottom and run the entire course of the bridge now underneath. So that's where some of that costing is coming in, is not necessarily the light itself. It's what's involved in putting the downward lighting on the side panels of that bridge facing down, taking them from up high where they're shining into people's backyards. That's where some of that cost.
So we rewired that whole thing last time we did the bridge. We rewired it from Turtle all the way down. We dug it all up and put in all the wires.
That wiring is all fine. It has to, where it mounts to the bridge at the junction underneath the bridge is where it has to be all new from there to the other side of the bridge, and then the removal of all of the high stuff.
I guess Commissioner Shoesmith then, and then
I'm just wondering, is there a trip hazard there as it stands right now? I mean, the problem doesn't seem to be a lack of lighting. The problem is too much lighting. Why not just disable it?
There's absolutely no trip hazard there right now. Everything meets code and is safe in that regard.
So is lighting even required?
That's a commission's decision.
I guess what you're saying is, can we put a dimmer on it?
Or just disable the ones that are a nuisance, ones that are shining in people's backyards. I mean, if there's one or two that are,
if you take those out, there's only two lights there.
That's correct. Each bridge has one light on each side,
and that's it,
facing back towards each other. Yeah.
What about natural, like the moon, or just the night vision that people can see?
Yeah, there's too many complaints. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm not as taken back by the cost. I think that there's probably liability issues if we turn the lights off of those at night. If somebody was to get injured, there is still liability, and just a consultation with whatever it would probably cost, what it would cost for these. Even if we start with the South Bridge and get one done just to see how it goes, if nobody complains about North, leave it as it is. I would maybe take that out of reserves as opposed, because we haven't pulled anything out of reserves. If we can get that down to 1.5 or 0% increase, people would be happy with that. And I think that would help, because you're taking 22.5 out of that, and 33, we're almost down to 0 increase. So
you should probably go out and take a look at it, right? It would help you, I think, to take a look at it. Because it's always been there. Like, those lights have always been there. So, but anyways, yeah, I don't know. I'll split it. I'll split it, then do the 22.5 then, if that's, and take a look at it. I just think it's a waste of money. I really do. There had to have been some other way of doing it. I even considered going back to the solar lights, and you can't dim those lights that we have to try that out, right? There's no dimmer you can put on. I don't know. This one here has bugged me for a long time. So yeah, okay. Let's split it then. If you guys are in favor, like, what do you want to do? Yeah. See, the other bridge, there's talk they want more lighting, right? So that's a whole different little ball game that we can. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I may just add in, I'm familiar with the lighting on those bridges at night, and I think I gotta support the chairman on this one. 41,000 seems a lot of money, just to make some small changes that it might.
Well, I kind of see it like a street light. The lights were always there. You might have put new bulbs in them here and rewired them, but I mean, I wouldn't tear a street light out because somebody was complaining it was shining in their window. I mean, so I would just take it out. Like, easy for me to say, I don't live there, I'm not looking at the light, but this isn't something new that you did when you reinstalled the bridge. The lights were always there, just like the street lights were always there. I think you just put new bulbs and had to replace broken wiring. So. No, I didn't see the deputation, so easy for me to say, right? But I would move to remove the 45,000.
I think he's tried everything, right?
There's got to be some other way, something. I mean, they're complaining there's too much light. It's beaming into their back window or something. I mean, reduce the wattage, less illumination.
It's a victim of circumstance with the way the lights are mounted and the way that they shine and
can a reflector be
No,
Put on the
they've
lens.
looked at reflectors as well, because now you're going to cut off the light moving forward across as you light forward ahead on the bridge. Now you're just going to light the approach.
Blinders on the
And like the
sides.
deputy mayor had identified, you could be into a liability issue there if you're not providing proper lighting there. So
You're saying the same thing we all said 5 years ago.
Probably, yeah.
Chris, is there any chance there's any kind of grants out there? There's often grants to upgrade lights. If we haven't done these in years, there could be a chance that we at least get covered for some of it.
we could certainly maybe look into that. I'm unaware of any at this point in time, but we might be able to look into something like that, but there would never be a guarantee anyways.
So on this, if we're looking to take this out and we have to vote on it, do we do a vote? We put a motion forward, or do we just do a vote now, or how do we do this?
Through you, Mr. Chair, at this point in time, you have the main sort of operating budget on the floor, that motion on the floor. We do have a separate motion for your capital program. So when we get to that motion and we put that motion on the floor, what we can do is discuss how we deal with the lighting. So
Okay.
the first course of action is you need to deal with your operating budget, for which you've already put that motion on the floor.
Okay. So we just finish this and keep moving on. We're almost done now anyways. That's it. Also, there I don't look.
I know.
You're gonna have to sit over there.
I will. I just wanted to speak, and again, we'll vote on this when we get to the capital projects, but just because we're in that block and looking at it, there's two line items there, one for accessibility improvements and one for the pavilion addition. My understanding is that the commission had requested that we do some community engagement to see what was more desirable, whether it was MOBA mats for the beaches or the addition of a pavilion, or maybe both. Unfortunately, due to circumstances, and Melissa's, our manager of communications, has recently joined us. So we're going to be looking at doing that here in the next couple of months, but we weren't sure which way to put that for the budget purposes for the commission. So at this point, we've added both of those lines with, obviously $30,000 is not enough to buy you a constructed pavilion, but it should get you some design and features if that's what the commission and the community are curious about. But I just wanted to explain what those two line items were, and they may be up for further debate when we get to the capital projects too. So
I'm glad you brought that up. Something, and now that you've said that, I want to go to the clean flow system.
Sure.
On that, where did that information come? The way that's laid out with all the lines, like where did that come from?
The map that was provided. Yeah. So that was the map that was provided in 2024 with the 4-year plan expansion of the clean flow systems in the lagoons, spread out as year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, which was accepted by the commission at the time. So you'll see this year clean flow system. That's the estimated costing for moving forward with the second phase of the four-year phase program.
Because that phase is, there's no way we should be doing it that way. That whole map is wrong, right? Like, I'm trying to find it here so I can go over it with the purple.
Okay.
I got lost in here. I know I forgot where it was. Can you put that? I guess you can't put that up there. I'm now lost everything now.
It's again, we can discuss that when we get to the capitals page of that, because it's actually broke down in the capitals page report with the map attached to it there. So we can dissect that at that
The only
level.
thing, Chris, is we've talked about this a number of times.
Yes,
and
we have.
everybody's told me that they're going to talk to me about it, and nobody talks to me about it, and it keeps coming back like that. And off the top of my head, right, when I take a look at that, you're not even including Canoe. Like, Canoe needs to get a pipe down there to do the final connection. It's not even in there anymore. The connection that I can see that we're running down to the marina is way up at Paradise. It doesn't make any sense at all to have a pump house up there.
Right.
Like,
And
there's so many things on it that are incorrect, and we have a double pump system going up the main channel where I question whether or not we even need the clean flow going up the main channel.
when this was presented by the previous director, each year it was going to come forward for discussion at that point in time as to the direction that each course was going to take. This was a proposal at the time, and then at the time that they came to capital, the discussion would be there to move forward or not in each current year. The systems beyond this year are large, yes. They're large because of lack of space to put another shed in. We have to run a lot of line out of property that we have. We don't have property in those areas to install sheds and other bubblers. So we're running off of some existing areas to cover those big areas where we don't have available land to install other sheds moving forward. That's why those two systems beyond next year are fairly large systems. And there would be the need to have a pretty heavy discussion in regards to where we're going. So after this year.
Well, we have the existing sheds there. That's where the thing I was looking at using. And then the shed over at the marina is quite simple, but we can go over that another time. We don't need to talk about that
those are they were identified when the original proposal had come forward with the 4-year expansion plan, that each year we would discuss the needs of that year moving forward.
So what I'd like to do is sit down with you and get that map that's in front of me and get the whole map, and we can just go over what the final steps are.
For sure.
We're on the finish line right now. It's just to finish this off now. So I have no problems putting the money that's in there, but I want to talk about which ones we're using in the pump houses, right?
Right. So when we get to the capital, the map will be there. We'll be able to discuss what year 2 expansion looks like, where we're coming off of, and where we intend to put diffusers and stuff.
Exactly. And I think we'll have to take a good hard look at the marina and decide what we're doing in there, because we never know what's going to happen there. Right?
Yeah. And without it exactly in front of me right now, I'd bring it up, but I'm not sure whether marina's year 3 or year 4 expansion.
Yeah, but you got to tie it into what you're doing now to tie in, because it has to happen. It's all like step by step, and you're going to be using the same pump houses from what I can see.
Year 2 pump house is Turtle Path pump house, which wouldn't come into play for moving towards the marina at all. This pump house is right.
Agree. Yeah. But I still think it's incorrect the way it's going. You got to run something down. You got to come down about 3/4 way canoe, because it's got nothing. It's got no pumps, and there's nothing on your in the future. It shows nothing going in there, and that should be the next step down. But we'll go over that.
We'll look at year 2 map when we get to the capital report.
Right. We'll leave the dollars in, and the 55,000, and that should cover, because we don't need
a compressor.
Pumps, we just need pipes.
We don't need a compressor for year 2's expansion at all.
Exactly. Okay, I agree with you on that. But let's talk about where it's going. Right.
For sure.
Okay. I'm probably got back to. I forgot all about that. I had a note there. Deputy Mayor.
Well, I think if we made a couple of changes we talked about in capital, we dropped down to 1 lighting for 22.5, whatever we decide to do or not. And then we have to remove one of the accessibility improvements, one of the other. We don't need 60 in, because you put 2 in just in case we want to go one way or the other. So I think 30 is off. So I think we've already got it down to a 0% increase, which is fantastic for me. We're not taking anything out of reserves this year, and we're just balanced.
I wanted to come out on almost a balanced budget this time. I was really after that, just the fact that we've been hammered so much.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and it's time to actually try to get our reserves back up.
Yeah.
I don't know what's available. Like if we remove the 45 for the lighting, and then as part of the same motion, we pursue any grants that are available for illuminating walking paths, because these lights still weren't going to light up the path. So there might be something out there for illuminating the path from the, and then if it's a grant, then you redo the bridge as you're doing the approaches, all with downward lighting, I think would be a better product.
Well, the north needs the more lighting on the path.
Right.
I don't think the south needs the lighting. Because the south, I don't see a problem with that.
It's well lit up on the approaches.
There's not a lot of trees covering it. On the north, it's like a tunnel almost.
Yeah.
I kind of spooks out in like 11 o'clock, something might jump out at you. Right? Let's go back to
It'll definitely aid on the encroachment of the trees over the path. I don't think it'll improve the lighting, because the trees are much higher, and to strip the trees all the way up, we're only going to cause devastation to the tree and perhaps immortality to the tree. So it's just some cleanup of the encroachment of the tree.
I don't know how you're going to light that path up. I have no idea how it's almost like you're going to have to run a light halfway down or something. So which would cost a fortune compared to what I see here. Right?
I had a budget question. I know you're talking about two capital items. Does that balance the budget, or is it the operating side where you're running the 3%? Because a lot of times capital is coming out of reserve, and removing 30,000 doesn't affect your bottom line.
So through you, Mr. Chair, if I drop the capital project to 22.5, I remove one of the $30,000 and I hold the levy at the exact same, I still have us transferring, we have a positive transfer to reserves of $170,000 at this point. Understanding that there's also placeholder for the salaries and a couple of unknowns in there, but at this point it's a balanced budget with potentially a bit of surplus there that would be going into reserves, not out.
So what we're doing is a zero increase, and that's what we're after now. Not bad. Yeah. Okay.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, then we would need to understand that you're aiming for a balanced budget at 0% in tax or levy increase so that we can prepare all the budgets.
It's a good thing to do. I know I'm a believer on the cost of living because it does go up, but I think now we can take a deep breath and just take a look and reevaluate what we're doing, what our next steps are, and take a look at, you know, what we need to spend our money on in the future. And we can finally start putting money away for 5 years from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now, with all the different, because the equipment's going to have to be replaced probably, or some major work's going to have to be done in the next 5 years. And that's $500,000 right there. Yeah. Okay. So where am I now?
Through you, Mr. Chair, what I'll do is I'll ask staff to put the motion that you have already put on the floor on the screen, just so we can recall what it specifically says. So at this point, you've put this motion on the floor, which is that the budget essentially be submitted as part of the township's 2026 budget process. And Mr. Chair, what we would propose is that you entertain an amendment to that motion that would enable us to ensure that we report back to you on any adjustments that are made. So your main motion has been put by your mover and seconder. And now if you are comfortable to entertain this amendment so that that commits staff to reporting back to the commission on any adjustments that have been made.
Okay.
Okay, and this is with respect to your operating, so the first part of your budget process.
And this would now go to council, or do we have another chance? I know the mayor and I were talking about that, whether or not.
So through you, Mr. Chair, we do have a new budget process this year due to the strong mayor's legislation.
Right.
So how we will be operating for the 2026 budget process is different than what you probably have been accustomed to. So what staff will be doing is there's a schedule that's been established to present the full budget to Mr. Mayor as part of the overall process. And then it's introduced into council. So it's actually deemed a sort of mayor's budget.
Mayor.
I guess what I'm looking for is there an opportunity for this budget, even after it's presented to council, to come back here and you get your closer numbers at the end of the year for final ratification and then presented to council in September. Like this would be presented as a working budget, and then is there an opportunity for it to come back to this commission to fine tune it when the last numbers come in as a final budget?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mayor Clark, I'm going to suggest maybe not to fine tune because when it gets to council and it's adopted by council, that'll be the sort of final decision. But what we would commit to as part of this amendment is to advise the commission of any adjustments. So as we talked about at the beginning of this session, we are just fine tuning the staff charges to this budget. So part of that commitment to provide you with further information would be a breakdown of the staffing. So you would have all of that information. If council makes any changes or if the mayor makes any changes as part of the budget process, we would commit to advising you of that as well. To answer Mayor Clark's question, again, once it's sort of ratified by council, that will be it. There won't be any sort of further changes to this particular budget. Through you, Mr. Mayor, we are aiming for early December for ratification.
Sorry, early December?
Yeah. So just, Mr. Chair, and for the benefit of the commission, as we go through this process, there's a lot of work that has to be done with respect to the overall township budget. So we've got a full schedule that includes some consultation, obviously, and presentation to the mayor. But the final the final ratification is aimed for the beginning of December.
Okay. But really, then, if there's any changes, we can change it. There's all sorts of things you can do. Okay. All right, then. Because if there's any major changes, any big changes, we can change it. No, we can do all sorts of stuff, right? We can, there's all sorts of stuff we can do. No.
This is just the operating.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So this will be the
So
operating.
we got to vote for this. Okay. So is there any more discussion?
So through you, Mr. Chair, just as I've indicated, though, if we could entertain the amendment, just so again, that will be part of the main motion, is that staff commit to coming back to you with any adjustments prior to submission. So that motion, as you see right there, is that the motion before the commission be amended to include the following, and that staff be directed to advise the commission of any adjustments of the submitted draft 2026 budget. So you'll need a mover and a seconder for that amendment.
Okay. And that would tell us if something's changed, how to affect
Correct.
the budget to us.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. All right, so on the floor, Deputy Mayor, second by Commissioner Hart. I guess we've had enough discussion, right? All in favor? It's passed.
So that amendment has now passed, Mr. Chair. So you now call the question on the main motion.
The question on the main motion, and that is, oh, to pass the budget. Okay, you get me confused now. So I've already got first and second. All I
Correct.
need is to pass. All in favor? That's passed.
So now, Mr. Chair, what we'll do is we'll put on the floor for consideration the capital budget process. So, the capital budget motion. And so and if I can, Mr. Chair, prior to you asking for a mover and a seconder, there was a lot of conversation with respect to lighting. So before you put the motion on the floor, was there a consensus as to what you would like in terms of the actual lighting number?
Well, there's been talk all of this. I think we got to figure out where everybody stands on it. Yeah.
I'll put a motion on the floor to put in for the South Bridge for the 22.5 for half, just to do one.
You got a second, yeah. So
So
If it goes down, then we'll go back to that one.
All right, I haven't seen the deputation. I would have put in 0 myself because it's just
it
what's
just
there, but
seems so expensive. It seems
It does.
excessive. That's what I'll just.
I think,
Yeah, I support the mayor on that one. I don't see the need for that expense. My experience in that area, on both bridges.
And you feel that we should spend the 22.5?
Well, it's something sort of progressive.
It's a single. Sorry. No, go ahead. I shouldn't interrupt you. It's my fault.
No, that's just how I see it.
Okay. Well, there are lighting. The lighting is there. Yeah.
I just remember the deputation when they came here. And I do remember how bad it was for them because the lights shine in their house is like being lit up all night long. They don't get that break. And if anybody tries to sleep during a full moon, I don't know about anybody else, but I have a hard time sleeping during full moon because my house is lit up and I have a hard time. But
Did you go and look at it?
yeah, I did. Yeah.
All right.
So-
We got 2 and 2.
through you, Mr. Chair, if I can, if there isn't a consensus, so we actually haven't put the motion on the floor yet. Okay,
Oh.
so what we're going to do is we're going to put the motion on the floor, and if somebody wishes to amend it to change it to something different, they can do that. But if I can just, at this point in time, what we've got is the footbridge down, downward lighting for the north
No,
and
can I just
south, or
interrupt you
just,
though? Didn't we not just put it on the floor now with the motion?
I went ahead of this, CAO, Josh is correct. I should have waited for the motion to come and offered an amendment.
Okay, so that doesn't count
So it
then.
doesn't count.
Okay, so, all right. Sorry, it's getting confusing now when you get into all these amendments and changes. Okay, sorry for interrupting you, but I just wanted to confirm that. So that's not in motion, but we did talk about it.
through you, Mr. Chair, the benefit of sort of having the motions on the screen right now, and if there was a consensus before you actually put the motion on the floor, we could have adjusted it. So what I would ask you to do is put this motion on the floor. If there's an amendment to change that section, then we'll prepare that amendment. So if you want to ask for a mover and a seconder for this motion for your capital program, we'll put it on the floor and we'll see if there's any amendments to that.
Staff direct the commission.
And we'll ask the clerk staff, Mr. Chair, to read the motion. So if you want to ask for a mover and a seconder,
Okay, so I'm going to read this or you're going to read it?
we'll read it for you, Mr. Chair. If you
But I
just
need
want
to
to
put
ask
it
for
on
a
the
mover
floor
and a
first.
seconder.
I have to put on the floor first. Okay, so again, first would be the deputy mayor, second by Commissioner Schutzman.
Great. And then we'll ask staff to read it for the commission so that they can see what the full motion says, and then we'll entertain any amendments.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the motion before the commission is that report LC 2525 regarding capital projects for 2026 be received, and that staff be directed by the commission to include the following capital projects for consideration during the 2026 budget process. Phase 2 of the clean flow expansion to add additional aeration systems for phase 2 of a 4-year phase project in the amount of $55,000. Gondola Lagoon noise engineering and solution in the amount of $30,000. Tree trimming at the north footbridge to trim branches and trees overhanging the footpath in the amount of $7,500. Footbridge downward lighting for the north and south footbridges in the amount of $45,000. Repair or replacement of various picnic tables, garbage receptacles, and benches located at both the north and south private beaches in the amount of $16,000. Miscellaneous small equipment to acquire commission-owned equipment for staff performing maintenance around Lagoon City in the amount of $2,500. Shed for offload site to store the equipment needed for the operations of weed harvesting in the amount of $7,500. Accessibility improvements in the amount of $30,000. Pavilion addition in the amount of $30,000. North private beach drainage improvements in the amount of $225,000. And that staff be directed to seek grant funding opportunities for the 2026 capital projects as available.
Question first. I didn't have the pavilion in my budget. Was that just added?
It's under capital.
Thought I didn't have.
It's under accessibility improvements in the
Oh,
pavilion.
that's what it's called.
But there-
Accessibility. All right. That was the pavilion. Okay, thank you.
Deputy mayor?
So if I offer an amendment, there's two different things. I guess you're looking for two separate amendments because we're looking at removing one of the two accessibilities. And we're also looking at dropping it to a half of that. I don't want to confuse them in case we don't agree on, well, you know what I'm saying?
Through you, Mr. Chair, and that's great. So let's perhaps deal with the accessibility issue first. So is the amendment to remove one of the accessibility projects? And if so, which one specifically?
Correct. I would leave them both. I put or and the same on the same line item, right? And then just put the same value because we know it's going to be $30,000, but it's not going to be 60. It's going to be one of the two that we choose to use. So we just, that's what my amendment would be.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if there's a seconder, we'll prepare that amendment so you can deal with that item first.
Mayor, second.
Okay, so we have a seconder, so staff will just prepare that and put it on the screen so you can see what it looks like.
So just to recap too, what General Manager Pai said is that we could look at either mats for the sand, which would be 30,000, or we would look at a pavilion expansion depending on what the public wants, which is 30,000. So it's not both, but she did put both in. So what we're doing is just putting them on one line item saying either or for 30,000 and removing 30 out of the budget.
There's only 30 here now.
I'm only seeing 30.
Oh, I'm seeing 30 for each line.
No, it's only 30.
Through you,
I
Mr.
don't have
Chair.
38.
Sorry, I apologize. I did add that in. That
I
was one
did
change
add
after.
that.
I
Yeah.
apologize. That
Okay,
was
that's
my
where the
fault.
mayor and I were trying to figure.
Yeah,
Where's that 30
there's magic 30,000 here coming.
Okay, I get you now. All right,
That's, yeah.
it says 30.
Okay.
30. Okay, I'm okay with that now.
So through the chair,
All in
the
favor?
amendment proposed is that the motion before the commission be amended to combine the accessibility improvements and pavilion addition projects in the amount of $30,000.
All in favor? That's passed.
So through you, Mr. Chair, the next amendment, I believe, will be with respect to the lighting. So perhaps prior to putting that motion forward, or if there's a mover to change that section, if we could have that information and we'll prepare that.
Motion.
Yep, my motion is to amend that amount to cover the South Bridge as an experiment for 22.5.
Second.
It's a compromise, yeah.
Yeah, so it's compromise came first. I vote against that, you're 45-0. So.
You're gonna.
Sorry, I should have had my mic on.
Huh? Well, I know the last Parks and Waterways voted against it, so, yeah. So you voted yes, you guys have voted no. I'll vote no too then.
So my amendment would be the line would be 0. That amendment's defeated, right?
Right, that's defeated.
Sorry,
so
Mr. Chair, that we had a mover for the change to 22. Did we have a seconder for that amendment?
it
We
was,
did? Okay,
Commissioner
so
Schuster.
you'll
Schuster.
need to deal with that. We'll put that on the screen, and if
It was
it is,
defeated.
it's defeated?
Yeah.
Okay, so we will then bring forward an amendment to bring it down to
0.
removing that project,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you have to put that forward, right?
I will put that forward. Now, is there an opportunity to pursue grants? Can I tag that to the motion or not? Better not. Let's keep it clean. Budget's one thing, grants can be a separate motion. So I would put forward,
Because there's grants for like
Yeah.
street lights and everything. right?
well, yeah, and for walking paths especially. And so.
I did just check with somebody that's in that area of expertise, and they said there is no current grants for outdoor lighting, but there are some for indoor.
0 is what I'm moving.
Okay, second by the Commissioner Hart.
Second that motion.
So through you, Mr. Chair, the motion would be that that particular project be moved by Mayor Clark and seconded by, okay, perfect. We've got that and it's on the screen for you.
Okay, that's on there. I guess discussion's done. All in favor? It's passed. Okay. Pardon me, sir? As amended. So I have to say that?
Yes.
As amended. And vote again. Okay. All in favor? We're spending more time on this than we are in the discussion. Okay, so the other one we had was
Through you, Mr. Chair, you have
no, I
one,
thought there was another one.
you
that
have
was-
one more, motion, Mr. Chair, and that is with respect to the legal issue.
Oh, the legal
Yeah.
issue.
So
But
we'll,
going back to that, the capital, right? Just want to take a look. Did we decide to spend the $30,000 still on that electrical thing? Like, I didn't think we did. Sorry, there I looked at.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I think it's a wise idea to leave it in the budget. We can determine whether or not we're going to utilize that going forward once we have those further reports. But at this point, if you do have a solution that is potential that we could solve some of the problems, you at least have some budget for 2026 allocated for it.
I just don't want staff to buy or to go do that, right? Unless, like, we're leaving the 30,000 and that doesn't mean let's go do it, right?
No, we've already deferred it. So
Okay,
it's
okay.
there, but we might want it to repair a pump.
Exactly. I've got no problems because if we don't use it, it goes into reserves, right? Yeah. And there was one other thing, I'm sorry, Gail, could you put that back up, like that list, just the highlight, there was something else that was bothering me when I saw it. I'm sorry, just might mean nothing, let me bring it down. Oh, the highlight's not there anymore.
Through the chair, so the changes for the amendments were incorporated into the motion. So what had been highlighted previously was the two accessibility improvement and pavilion addition projects. So per the amendment, those have been combined to be one project in the amount of $30,000.
Okay, I'm all right with that. Let's go to the next one. I'm good.
You were inquiring about the lawyer now.
Yeah, that's the last one, right?
Through the chair, we have a motion drafted that reads that the commission chair be directed to seek legal advice regarding payment of legal fees related to Lagoon City Parks and Waterways Commission matters, and that the chair requests the legal counsel providing the advice of the commission to also consult with the Township of Ramara administration when evaluating the question.
The only thing is, it's going to be a little bit broader than that because we talked about some other things too, right? It's not just the legal fees, right? We talked about some other things too, so we can bring that up at the same time.
Through the chair, do you have suggested wording that you would like to include in the motion in regards to that?
Are you referring to the scope of work for the lawyer that we're going to have to create for him? Or are you talking about just the motion to pass?
Well, we're going to pass this motion. We're going to talk to him about that, but there's some other things I want to talk to him about too that we discussed in the, so we can, I'll leave. Okay, fine. I'm good. All right. That's all I need to hear. All right. Let's put that on the floor then. The mayor, second by, we'll do Councilor or Commissioner Shoesmith. No more discussion. I shouldn't say any more discussion. All in favor? Okay, that's passed. All right. That went way faster. That's good.
Through the chair, the next item on your agenda is the budget to actuals report item. So I can read that motion if you'd like.
Okay, if you wouldn't mind.
That the Lagoon City Parks and Waterways Commission budget to actual report dated June 30th, 2025 be received as information.
I'll put that on the floor. The deputy mayor, seconded by Commissioner Shoesmith. Any discussion? All in favor? That's passed.
Mr. Chair, your next item on the agenda would be report LC 2425 regarding the operations update. The motion before the commission is that report LC 2425 regarding operations update be received as information. Through the chair, 7.3 was the capital projects report, so we have dealt with that item.
It's just Cal wanted to talk about the mapping in 7.3. That was our.
It's okay. We've already talked about the mapping. He's gonna talk to me.
Oh, okay. Okay. Perfect.
That's all.
That's good. Thank you.
So what was that 7 point? What did you just do? 7 point?
So the item we are currently on, yes, is 8.1 operations update.
So let me get it on the floor. Somebody put it on the floor. Councilor Commissioner Shoesmith, second by the deputy mayor. After we do this, just take a quick break then, right? Guys ready for a break then for 2 minutes? Are we ready to keep going? Okay, let's keep going then. Let's discuss it. That's 8.1. That would be you, right, Chris?
Yep, for sure. It's just the monthly operation update as to where we are, where we've been, and what we've been up to since the last meeting.
I just have one question for you.
Yep.
Where are we on the harvesting now? I know it's there. I'm just asking you quickly. Are we 3/4 done the first run, or?
So the crew is currently working in the marina area and working down Harbor Lagoon towards the entrance. We'll be making a left-hand turn up the gondola west side of Pine Tree Bridge when we get there. And then early next week, we're going to do a check on the water levels for entry into Turtle Lagoon.
That was my
If we're
next
able to,
question.
if we're able to get there, next week, we'll be into Turtle Lagoon next week. We'll do an assessment on the water levels, see if we can get under that bridge.
And what's your, like, it doesn't seem to be as bad as the years, or is it because the water hasn't dropped enough?
I think the fact that the water hasn't dropped quite yet, we have harvested a significant amount of weeds this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching them go by my place. He said there's some pretty full loads when it's.
Yeah, there's some, we're harvesting some pretty heavy weeds this year.
And are you using both harvesters every day?
Every day.
Perfect. Okay. That's the only question. Any other questions? No, perfect. All in favor? It's passed. 8.2. Oh, you're going to read this for me now.
So the motion currently before council is that report LC 2325 regarding no wake signage at the entrance to Lagoon City from Lake Simcoe be received, and that improved no wake signage be included in the Lagoon City Parks and Waterways Commission's 2026 budget submission in the amount of, and then we will require some direction from the commission. What is suggested in the report is replacing 2 existing signs at an estimated cost of $2,500 and purchasing and installing 2 floating buoys at an estimated cost of $2,000. So we will require some direction from the commission. You could discuss this first and then appoint mover and seconder, or you could put this on the floor and then provide an amendment if you'd like something different than this.
We'll put it on the floor and then we'll do the amendment, I think. Put on the floor, the mayor, seconded by Commissioner Hart. I'll say what I think. I think we have so many no wake signs. If people can't read those and see it, we could put another dozen. It's going to make no difference. We have them everywhere. I've never had so many no wake signs in Lagoon City. Like they're everywhere.
I think along the main canal there and from the levee, people tend to think of it as like an off ramp to a highway. And they start to slow down or speed up along that. And yet it's federal law in any navigable waterway that the maximum speed is 10 kilometers. And yet people, full speed, I've seen them. They totally disregard any courtesy or law or decent behavior. And people paddleboard and supboard and all sorts of things along there too.
But do you think if we put another no wake sign, that's going to stop those?
Well, it's kind of like noise now because it's been there so long, people ignore it. I think if they were refreshed and reminded that it applies right at the very beginning, it may help. You just refresh the sign that's there, maybe add a couple more.
But if you really want to get rid of this, then you got to get the police. The police have got to come and they're going to nail it. And they're going to get everybody that does that. Anything goes on, everything happens.
Quite likely to get a marine unit in there too and start monitoring speeds along the jetty.
I think that would be the next step then. If it's such a big problem there. I don't know. I looked at the no wake sign, like it's there, it's at the bottom, it's when you hit in the middle, like there's no wake signs everywhere. And there's no really, like, when we dealt with this about 4 or 5 years ago, we were told that we were not supposed to put no wake signs into the lagoon.
But we have.
Because, I know we have, but we were told we weren't supposed to do it. The only sign that we were supposed to put in was 10 kilometers. The problem with the 10 kilometer sign speed, if I do 10 kilometers an hour, I would.
Of course, it varies
in my boat. And,
of course.
And there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Right.
If you do 10 kilometers in a jet ski, you're going to get waked. So
lots.
I don't really like the 10 kilometer sign. I prefer the no wake.
Well, it just says maximum. That's all. It's not a recommended speed.
Right. But that person could do 10 kilometers an hour and wake your boat, and that's it.
That's why we added no wake zone. I mean, that's the purpose of no wake, right? I mean, 10 kilometers is max, but no wake.
There's no such thing. It's 10 kilometers now. There's no such thing as no wake zone.
Well, that's something we've sort of implemented as a courtesy now.
Exactly. That's what we try to do. But you can only put so many signs out there. Right? We just, I don't know, to spend $2,500 on something when we have all these signs already. Those people are going to do it no matter what you do. It's just the best way is to yell. That's the only thing to do is yell.
Well, we try that too, and they pretend they can't hear you. Or they don't look, they'll see you and they'll keep looking straight.
I'll tell you a story down at my place. They slow down. I can hear it slow because down that end, those guys scream at them. And as they come by my place, nobody yells at them. They gradually pick up. You can hear the motor revving and away they go.
I've been through the lagoons. It's nowhere near as prevalent as it is coming and going out of the
worst spot. Like
absolutely.
When I looked up there, you're going to get waked no matter what. You almost whips there because just the bounce in the water, people going by.
Right. We've had people lose cleats off their boats.
Yeah.
Because the waves are so high, it just rips the cleat off.
I think the only way to help you, sure, we can play with the signs, spend the money on it, but I think it's police now. It's just like speeding. You can put a sign from 6 kilometers out to 30. It's not going to stop the person.
Well, I think you have to change the mindset of people though. You know, I think people respect the no wake, but they just don't know when it starts. And I think they think it starts at the hotel and Lagoon City more or less starts there. And the rest of the way is
So
just
you
kind
want
of
to
like
put
an
another
entrance.
no wake sign up, but like, so that would be.
Well, there is.
3 signs up there.
But they're
There's one
old, they're
when you come
faded,
in,
they're, the
there's one
paint's
in the
coming off.
middle, and then there's one down further. Okay, well, if you want to put
Well-
another no wake sign, I got no problems. I just don't want to spend 2,500.
Well, maybe not. Maybe
Well,
just
that's what I
smaller
was
signs
wondering.
attached to the navigation buoys that are already there.
That's what I
something
wondered about,
peeking
putting
up.
new
Yeah.
ones on the buoys.
Sure, you could just put like a hose clamp around them with a small sign that are like $12 each from Amazon kind of thing.
Like rather than replace, the ones that are there are still there. I mean, they're visible, maybe the reflection. So I wasn't in favor of that, but I wasn't sure if you're putting buoys in, like how much can you interfere with the waterways? Can you install 2 more on the water and not interfere with the boat traffic or the sailboats or anything like going around these things? It's like,
They just put it on the side, like
Right.
you can see them all. Everybody knows you're not supposed to speed, but there's boats sitting there. Everybody knows that. They're just taking up people that don't. Commissioner,
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just to top up on some of the additional comments being made, it seems to be an issue only on the weekends, but when uneducated voters come into our community, they don't know. So I think the no wake signs would really help remind people to slow down. But at the end of the day, the people are going to be reckless and irresponsible and inconsiderate. And that's the reality. Unfortunately, whatever we can do to encourage people to slow down and not create a wake. And to top up on Chairman Johnson's comment about the 10 kilometers, you know, the placement of your boat, your vessel could have a 10 kilometers or less than 10 kilometers for a wake. But just wanted to top up on that. Thank you, Chairman.
Deputy Mitchell.
I was just wondering if Commissioner Shoesmith was offering an amendment at this point then to just go with maybe a cheaper version. of the
Absolutely,
sign?
sure, yeah, we don't have to spend $5,000 like on Amazon, they're literally $15. And with a hose clamp on the navigation buoys that are out there now, just attach them and they'll just be, you know, like a
So
little flag on
what
top.
would, so in your amendment, what do you want staff to do? Like get a cheaper sign?
Yeah, sure, just amend that to a less costly alternative.
If there's one available.
There is.
Yeah.
I've seen them.
Chris,
we own the navigation buoys?
They are our navigational buoys. That's correct. Sorry, the commission's navigational buoys. That's correct. I think, yeah, I'm not sure what the fix is there. I mean, I was out there personally myself. The signs are there. I don't know that another sign isn't going to get drowned out in the mix of what's there. It's a busy spot with the navigational buoys and everything else coming into play there. We would certainly try whatever the commission wishes, but whatever you wish, we can certainly try something.
Well, I'd like to try something because right now nothing's working.
That's why I thought, when I read it, I thought the 2 buoys on either side as you're coming in, that draws a line, you know, you
It
see the
does.
sign, where does it come into effect? You see the
Right,
2
and I
buoys,
think
this is where it comes into
That
effect.
clearly is the problem. People don't know when it starts. There's a sign that says, you know, in waterways, but they just don't
Yeah,
believe it's starting at that point. They think
As
it's,
soon as you
like I
come
say,
in,
at
it says
the
no wake.
hotel.
right,
In all waterways, yeah, but like I say, this is considered more of like an on-ramp or off-ramp.
yeah.
Because
So
it
that's
just
why,
doesn't extend out into
We
the
need a
lake.
speed water line.
Something, you know, a hose cannon or something.
Charge people. This has been a story that was talked about for 50 years.
I bet,
And eventually we
absolutely.
talked about for
Yeah,
another 50
and as
years.
people move and new
Everybody
people
will
come
be
in
talking
and they
about
get excited and they go
Yeah.
flying out.
Sorry, Chris.
Through you, Chair, I'll share a quick thought. I don't know that attaching something to a navigational buoy as we enter the canals is going to create anything. I think people drive both those buoys now at this point in time on a regular basis, and they're just visual noise as they pass. The new buoys that we did install throughout the canals, I've had a lot of positive feedback on those in the canal. And if I was going to make one suggestion, maybe if I could, would be that if we wanted to find that line as the mayor had identified, then maybe spending the money on 2 more buoys as an additional to what we've done create that line prior to the navigation buoys. Put 2 up there, 1 on each side of the canal. They're in the eyesight. They're in the sight line of the boaters coming in. They're in the water. Boaters will be aware of something that is floating in the water in front of them far sooner than a sign that's attached to a navigational buoy, or far sooner than a sign that's pounded on a U channel in the next to the shore wall. I know that it's a little extra costly, but if the fix that the commission is looking for is a defined line, defined by something identifiable, those buoys that we have installed are very identifiable in the canal system. They are noticeable, they are reflective, they are seen. Just a suggestion, if I may.
They do reflect, do they?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, they do.
Oh, okay. So, and then just to throw this out there, if you wanted to put them there, do you have buoys or no wake signs that you could move from somewhere else? Because we have so many of them around, right? I've never seen so many no wake signs around in our lagoons.
Well, you've identified that no wake is a courtesy within the canals. If you wish, we can certainly remove at your desire anywhere in the canal system and move them out to that location and try rather than purchasing. Upon your direction, we can do whatever in the canal system you wish. So you would just have to provide me the direction as the locations. I probably wouldn't be comfortable choosing the locations that we're going to remove from within the community. I think the direction should come from you guys as to which ones we're going to pull.
And how much are one of these signs now? How much are they? We arguing here about?
They were by the time we got them installed, they were just slightly around $1,000 each buoy.
$1,000 for each one of those.
Yeah, we were 8,000 and change for the install of all of those, including anchors, chains, and we went to chains and away from cables to prevent breakage and stuff. This year moving forward, they're there and they're proper now. So,
and how many of those did we buy?
There's 8 in the canal system right now.
All right, so if we buy 2 more, we have 10, and then that's it. Well, then we pretty well got everything covered then, and we're done. Okay, let's do it. We'll put them on the front there.
So the amendment would be just the 2 buoys, nothing else.
Yeah. And that's it. Then we won't worry about that sign that gets faded all the time. We talk about painting all the time. We'll just use the buoys from that one. We'll get rid of that sign then eventually. Right? We don't, that great big sign that weathers out all the time. Right? Looks like garbage. It always looks, it doesn't look good. Well, you can read it. It says, yeah.
So just for clarification, we have a mover, and do we have a seconder for that?
Yeah, we always have a second.
I don't know if we had a seconder for that.
I always get second.
I know Greg had just done it. We had a discussion, but I don't know if
okay, who's going to get to it?
Sorry, maybe I can just make a quick suggestion, just because that was 2025 pricing. We don't know what the pricing is going to be in 26. This is a 26 budget. 2,000 is what it would have cost in 25. Maybe we can add 2,500 just for a possible increase in 2026 on the buoy costs.
So the process, if I can, Mr. Chair, is that we'll remove the segment that indicates replacing 2 existing signs. So the amendment that you will introduce will be to remove the 2 existing signed proposal. And then you're going to want to add an additional $500 to the purchasing of the 2 floating buoys. So staff will just have that ready for you in just a moment.
So who put that on the floor for me and who seconded it? Because we can just ask them if the amendment's okay with them, or did we not put that on the floor?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the proper process would be for you to ask for a mover and a seconder for that amendment.
Okay, so we'll start again. Mover, Commissioner Shoesmith, second by Deputy Mayor. All in favor? That's passed. Okay, all in favor? Okay, so we're done that one. We're at 8.3. Oh yeah, I don't have to read this anymore. I like this anyway. It takes me a while to get used to it.
So through the chair, the next item on the agenda is 8.3, the ice storm cleanup costs. The motion before the commission is as follows. that report LC 2225 regarding ice storm cleanup costs be received, and that staff be directed to include eligible LCPWC expenses related to the 2025 ice storm state of emergency and recovery and applications for qualifying funding opportunities, including the Municipal Ice Storm Assistance MISA program, and that the LCPWC reserves be utilized for all ineligible expenses.
Let me put that on the floor for me. Commissioner Hart, second by the mayor. Discussion? Pretty straightforward. The only thing is, I just wanted to ask Chris, so the trees that fall from private property onto the town, non-damages the town property, do you go after the houses or the people, or do you guys just fix it and don't say anything? Because they would have insurance, right?
We did not explore anywhere going after anybody private property that fell on. It was a matter of getting things cleaned up and opened up. And I think the commission actually had that discussion at the time, and it was just get it cleaned up. We're not worried about all that other stuff. At the end of the day, the cleanup happened, and that's the way it went.
So what about the fences damaged and so on and so forth? Then we just pay the cost.
Yeah, so I believe there's a report coming up next month in regards to the fence cost for repairs.
That's all I wanted to know. Okay, all in favor? That's done. You've already done the one.
Chairs, the next items are unfinished or new business. There is none listed on the agenda. And then our next item after that would be adjournment.
Okay, so unfinished business or new business. We'll start with you then on that side of Commissioner.
Well, it's the beach is very busy, but the water levels are. Conservation. Bylaw office.
We can put a discussion on our next meeting about it, advertise it, and people can have their input. Like we would just add it to a future agenda and have a discussion on it. That would be the best rather than make a decision today. That gives folks time to read our agenda, see what we're up to.
Well, nobody heard you. You're gonna have to put it all in writing now. And you're lucky. I don't know. I've heard like little stories about this from different people, but we have all on Parks and Waterways, we've always allowed the kite sailing on the private beach because there's not that many people that do it. And the ones that did do it had talked to me many years ago, and we agreed that, hey, if you come in and cause problems, there's going to be issues like we're going to ban you or we'll stop you from doing it. So it goes straight out and away it goes. So maybe it's education here that we have to deal with it because this is the first problem we've had with kite sailors on the private beach. It's like, yeah, this is the first time we've had that.
Really?
The kite sailors have been using it for the last, I don't know how many years.
No, I know. And like I said, I like
no
them.
problem.
But
and I do know who it was, and I know I've heard the whole story, and it is a resident.
It is
somebody that came off. It was a resident that was there.
Right.
Yeah. So
It's one person in particular. I do know that.
exactly. So what it is I think if it happens more, we deal with it. But one-offs, you know what I mean? I know it's dangerous, but one-offs, but we can deal with it, not through John Popple. We can deal with it on the weekend.
No, people contacted John Popple because if you look at the bylaw, it says no kiting on Ramara beaches, not realizing that the private beaches are exempt.
Exactly, but the security guards that were there to come over.
And they did what?
The security guards. We have security on the weekends, Parks and Waterways.
Right. I know. And that one of the kiters came up to that security and said, I can do this here.
Right.
Yeah.
And what did he say?
I don't know.
And then again, you're doing it right because then John Popple will talk to him, right? Because he's looking after him. I can't say too much more on it. It's just people, there's just certain people that act like that. And if we have to, then we'll go directly to him or we'll look at them. That's how simple it would be. So you're right. Let's let it out that we're aware of it. We're not happy about it. There's no problem. Get on your kite sails, get out and have lots of fun.
Most people are reasonable, and I find they do it when people aren't around. But there is the odd one that will not, that'll just say, hey, I'm not breaking the law. I'm doing what my right. You know, move.
And what rights do we have as Parks and Waterways to actually deal with a person who does do that when we know who it is? Like I don't know. Like, I'm not sure what we can do about it, right? I was thinking you, Gail, but it's
sometimes a conversation, depending on the individual, that, you know, we don't want to be forced into a situation where we're banning it.
Exactly. I don't want to do that. You know?
Yeah, I agree. From my experience, the kites usually come in the fall. Not so much in the summer, but it's usually in the fall that's when the winds start to change and pick up, and you get a lot of kiters there. And we've got a beautiful beach, and why should we deny people the opportunity to go and exercise and have a great sport and a good recreation? Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, it's for the private beach. So the people that do kite sail, there are people that actually are Lagoon City people. That's who's allowed to go on, not people from the city. Yeah. And the reason I think you see it so busy in the fall is that the town, I think the bylaw says you can kite sail in October on the public beaches. Yeah, I'm pretty sure in the public beaches you can do it. After a long weekend, they're allowed to do it. Yeah. Okay, so how do we leave this then? We leave it that we've received his information and I don't know.
I don't think there's no action required, so I don't think you have to do anything. It was just a discussion of.
So let us know if it happens again then, right? Like, you know what I mean? Give me a call, actually. If it happens again, give me a call. Let me know. Any other? So that was actually, I had that on my list. Okay, so I have a couple things. One of them was apparently the townhouses have got, and I got this email sent to me, but it's from the corporation, the townhouse corporation, got an email from the town saying that they can't have ladders on their walls for on their condo units, and they have to remove them immediately. Oh, okay. I'm looking to the right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're currently reviewing that. We'll get back to the residents that we spoke to.
On it. Okay.
Yep.
So, because should I talk about this more? Because it's on their property, like it's right on their docks, right?
I would just leave it for now, and we'll chat with the impacted residents, and we can let you know where
if you wouldn't mind letting me know, then to follow up on it, because I figured there was something that was strange happening. Okay, so that was done. The gate issues in the inn parking lot. One of the problems we used to have, and I'm not hearing that we're having a problem, is once the inn seems to shut down every 3 or 4 years. And once they shut down, we end up with everybody in that parking lot. And a lot of times we have people flowing into the private beach. And we have to, I guess as the town, they have to keep it open because it's a right of way to get to the water. What a lot of times that we did with the hotel and that, they blocked off the entranceway right at the front and they put the fence there, but it was a key so that the people could still get in the water, get in and do the work and then come out and keep all the people out of their parking lot. Because what's happening, I guess, the garbage is appearing and so on and so forth. I'm not sure, have you guys reached out to the hotel to talk to them or discuss the issues with all the parking that they're getting there? And I think they can blame it on Parks and Waterways people. I think that's what's happening, the parking there.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I do know that the enforcement team has been in contact with the owners and they've been discussing those property standards and that they've had those discussions. I don't know that the township has any ability to require them on their private property to do any of those works. However, they have been in discussions about maintaining the property. So.
Right, because they can't block it because you guys have the right.
Correct. Yes, there's
Okay, so I was
access
just
for the
making sure
water
that you
plant.
were talking to them about. I haven't heard as many headaches as what happened last time. It seems to be working pretty well, but I just see all the cars in there and I see people parking. Well, I've got something else, but I just want to talk to the CNO first. I'm done on this stuff. We're done? Okay. We're going to adjourn at 11:42. Who wants to put it on the floor? The mayor, second by Commissioner Hart. All in favor? We're done.